Item, resolution adopting the budget for the City of Emeryville Redevelopment Agency for the 1996-97 fiscal year. This is in conjunction with item 7A on the City Council agenda. Mr. Flores and Ms. Marst.
Pauline, please.
Okay. Do you want to do both of these at the same time, or do you want to come back?
What is the pleasure
We know
of
what
the
you'd like to
council?
do, right?
I'm staying till the end anyway.
All right, okay. Are we going to do both?
If that's the pleasure of the council, we'll do
Well, then
both.
what we need to do is
Well, we can go, have her give the presentation, you can act on the agency item, then you can recess, go to that item on the council's agenda,
Good.
take action.
Okay.
Recess.
You run the clock on that, Michael.
I'll try.
Council received proposed budget on May 7th. We had 4 work sessions during the month of May, finishing up last Thursday night. The discussion in this memorandum is an attempt to summarize the discussion at those workshop meetings. Of the material presented in the budget, Council did not endorse one of the program change requests, which was that of the creation of a head teacher for the child development program. The other items that were listed in the change request area of the budget I have included here. I understood that that they were endorsed by Council. Then there was an intention stated with regard to fund balance. So I've stated that as a policy and shown that here. And have added a couple of things to narratives. Let's see. And there's several changes, the largest of which involves the Child Development Center and a change to staffing ratios and capturing expenses associated with that. With regard to the budget resolution for the redevelopment agencies, the first one I'll cover, I want to point out one change. Well, 2 actually. The page 2 is numbered page 3 by error. But that change is in the grants for community promotions. The Berkeley Community Law Center, which I have here shown as being funded from the Redevelopment Housing Fund. On Friday, I was unable to determine whether that was an eligible expense for the Housing Fund. And so the way the numbers appear in the resolution, that money comes out of the community promotion account rather than the Housing Fund.
we can go back and make an adjustment later if it's determined that it can be.
Right.
Okay.
So the resolution is correct, but the chart that is on the page has one number in the wrong column.
Okay, so what you want to do is move Berkeley Community Law Center over to redevelopment community promotion.
That's correct.
That
That's
just
correct.
really doesn't make sense. But you're researching it.
That's
Okay.
right.
Okay.
We had only one. We had the one-day turnaround to get this on paper.
But
only
let
on
us see
Friday.
if we can get it out of the housing fund, because it clearly is much more applicable to the housing fund. No offense, it's not that they're not cultural, you understand, but any other comments?
Yeah, I just have a question in terms of the head teacher program. Is that out of? I'm unclear whether that's out of this budget or is it out of the council?
Council.
Out of the council portion. Okay,
Yes, it is.
I'll hold my comments until then.
That'd be good.
Okay.
Now, I have a question. Actually, it's for Hank on the Public Works Department, where we're moving 8005 professional services be used to steam clean city streets. Are we talking about streets or sidewalks?
Sidewalk.
Okay, let's correct that and reflect that.
Yeah.
All the gook up on San Pablo Avenue, great.
Yes.
Great, okay. And also on the bricks at Stanford Avenue, which have taken a real beating. you know, where the park is, where we put the brick crosswalks.
Yeah. Okay.
Any other comments on the redevelopment budget? Do I hear a motion?
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Agency Member Bukowski.
Aye.
Agency Member Harper.
Aye.
Vice Chair Cassis.
Aye.
Chair Davis.
Aye. We'll now adjourn and go
No, actually, at this time, we'll recess
recess.
the agency meeting and convene the council meeting with respect to item 7A on the council's agenda.
Right?
Okay. The
That's fine.
additional information here, the budget resolution reflects the changes that were indicated in the new programs. I've also indicated an interest in maintaining fund balance at a level of 25% of expenditures in the general fund and 10% of expenditures in other operating funds. We've shown revenue and expenditures for all of the various operating funds and also a breakdown of revenues and expenditures for the general fund by type of revenue and by department.
Are there any comments on the part of the city council members?
Yeah, I want to get back into the head program. I missed, unfortunately, the work session here on the budget the night that the Child Development Center budget was discussed, and I brought that up last time. And I know that Greg and Nora expressed a lot of concerns for a variety of reasons about that particular expenditure. Since then, I've done a bit of checking, and what I am told from the discussions that I've had today is that, and this is from the Child Development Center's assistant director, that basically what they're looking to do with this position is to not totally remove a teacher from the classroom, but that they have need for additional administrative help. And so it's not just to cover when Eleanor and the assistant are not there. It's at times that are viable to bring a teacher out of the classroom. And one of the times it was cited is, for example, apparently the kids take about an hour nap during the daytime, and they still have coverage in the classroom, but they obviously don't need as much all the time when that's occurring unless the kids are not napping. In those situations, that teacher could be brought out of the classroom and could perform administrative services at the Child Development Center, which I understand are badly needed. And part of the rationale for that is that, as I understand it, we're now like at capacity in the Child Development Center, or have gained over the last year or year and a half, gone up about 30 kids, is what I'm hearing said. I can't verify that those numbers are accurate, but anyway, based on the information that I now have, I'm convinced that this is not a proposal that's being made solely for the purpose of creating a promotional hierarchy, which I think is one of the concerns that was there, but that there are valid reasons to utilize a teacher dually when it can be done primarily in the classroom. And what I've been told is the teacher would remain in the classroom at least 80 to 85% of the time, and they're anticipating using that position services on an administrative basis no more than 15 to 20% of the time. So based on that, although I indicated otherwise last time, I would support the initial recommendation from the city manager to include the 5% pay increase for a head teacher program position.
Yeah. Any other council member like to comment on this item?
Yeah, I would support Chair Thomas.
Councilmember Harper?
Well, I'm still. It's not a big money item, so it wasn't that wasn't the issue. The issue with me still was that for the need that was described to me, and maybe I'm still kind of quaint, but for the small amount of time that they would be necessary, I would think that the camaraderie at that organization would be such that if Eleanor and Janice ever had to leave together, they could poke their head in one of those classrooms and say, "You're head teacher, for the next couple of hours, and anything goes wrong, take charge or whatever happens." And I just think that you expect that of people. I mean, and that someone would be willing to do that on those occasions out of the basis of pride, and that to create an official designation of someone who could be gone to in such a case, I think kind of mocks what human, people should be willing to do that, just as a matter of just maintaining the camaraderie, and that's as much of a message that I wanted to send. Is these are not the sorts of positions that I like to see created for these sorts of reasons.
I would certainly second what Councilmember Harper is saying, with some additional caveats. I have watched neighboring school systems who move people into administrative positions, and all of a sudden you get top-heavy administration, and you're not focusing on the children in the classrooms. I don't want 1% of the classroom teachers' time away from the classroom, much less 10% or 15%. When this proposal was first brought before us, it was ostensibly to cover either when the director or the assistant director were not present. Well, that's one of the reasons 3 or 4 years ago we instituted the position of an assistant director. When we asked the question, how many times during the year were both of these people, both of these administrators gone, we didn't really come up with any kind of a figure, which suggests to me that this doesn't happen on a regular basis. What appears to be the problem here is that there's perhaps an overload of quote administrative work, which I suspect may be some kind of paperwork or some sort of duties that are not being handled now that could be handled in a different way than appointing someone to be a head teacher and pulling that person out of the classroom. A teacher is a very, very special person, not just to the kids, but to the parents. And I don't want to see any teacher pulled out of the classroom for any amount of time. I think there's a better way to provide support for Eleanor and for the director and the assistant director. I don't think the head teacher position is the way to do it. It touches back on what Greg says about working together. Let us. I would appreciate it if the city manager and the director of the center would come back with an alternative solution to this so-called administrative overload. And I would like to say about the Child Development Center being up to capacity. It was my understanding that the city of Emeryville has 90 children and that Child Development Center. The additional children have been brought in by the Head Start, and it's my understanding that Head Start provides full administrative capability for that program. If I'm wrong, someone should advise me on that.
No, you're right. The Head Start, which has about 20 children, have their own administrative and teachers.
Exactly. And so essentially, the Child Development Center is still around between 80, 85, and 90 children.
88 to 90. We'd like to keep it
Right,
at 90. That's
right.
our capacity.
I'm just asking you to come back with a different solution to this problem rather than creating structure.
Well, you beat me to the draw here because one of the items on there was put on last week prior to the Thursday evening budget work session, and I would pull item 7A3 because that is no longer applicable, and that was to create or establish those classifications. And I agree that we will come back trying to give the council ideas of how we can handle this administratively without having a teacher be a head teacher, or maybe it will be a head teacher if there are no other suggestions.
Well, I'd like to have a sense from the council if they share the same concern that I have about a teacher who we spend a lot of time and money on the training of these teachers to pull them off into administrative functions. Am I out of in left field here with the rest of the members of the council? I think it's critical that we keep the teachers in the classroom.
I agree. It was certainly a factor. I'm willing to, I'm not closing my mind to the whole thing, and if it comes back after a thorough analysis of alternatives and we end up doing this, I'm willing to reconsider. I just don't think the case was made at this time.
No.
No, and I really think that we need to get the facts straight, because that's some of the concern that I'm hearing from the other council members versus what I'm being told, is that the justification for it is being made on a number of bases, and that can be true. There can be multiple justifications for the request, but it's like different ones have been floated out and then didn't succeed, and then another one was tried, and that does somewhat undermine some confidence in what's happening. But I feel pretty confident that when everything is out, that we're going to see that we need to do something there to help in some way. So I would like to see this come back, and obviously we'll have an ability to do that down the line.
And the reason that I supported it is because in the fire department, for example, when somebody takes over supervision for somebody else, they get compensated. And it would seem fair that the people in the Child Development Center should be compensated too. They have a tough job, and they don't really make a lot of money for what they do. And so I just want to be fair as far as the other departments go.
I'd just like to make a comment. I believe, Pauline, didn't you institute some different ways of handling the money for the Child Development Center, the charge card thing? And
The recreation programs are now accepting charge
Right,
cards
right.
as of this spring, and I know a lot of the summer registrations were done
Yeah.
that way. And Child Development does not currently have a computerized method for
Exactly.
collections, and we're going to institute a more formal method for them to be collecting and receiving.
Yeah. See, I suspect that there's a lot of redundant work going on there, a lot of paperwork. I leave that to the professionals, but there's a different way to do it. What is the pleasure of the council on this item? Can we hold off on this until we get more accurate information?
As long as that happens pretty quickly, because I know from talking to our missing council member today that Bob's concern is that we're going to lose the administrative assistant or whatever, I don't know even what her title is, that she is so overwhelmed with administrative tasks that we're going to lose her. That's his concern, and he's certainly, out of all of us, I think, the council member who's most closely in tune with the Child Development Center, or has been until recently. So I would like to see us get this back as a matter of priority as soon as we can, so we can figure out where we're going.
I'd agree with that. We need some help, but this head teacher thing, pulling the teacher out of the classroom, just doesn't fly.
The resolution before you does not include the appropriation for that head teacher
Right.
position.
Right. Are there other changes that we need to be aware of here?
No.
If not, then I'd move approval.
Would you call the roll, please?
Agency Member Pikowski.
Aye.
Agency Member Harper.
Aye.
Vice Chair Cassis.
Aye.
Chair Davis.
Aye. I have a comment to make on the City Council agenda under 7A3. That is an erroneous statement. You have included there the, okay, you're pulling that off.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
very
and you
good.
still have not taken action on 7A2, which
Oh, I'm
is-
sorry, my motion was intended to cover both